All right, Bismillah. Is the mic on? It's on, you can hear it? Bismillah, alhamdulillah. We begin with the name of Allah, asking for His help, for His blessings and for His protection, and we praise Him and we thank Him and we show Him gratitude. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. We ask Allah to bless the Messenger Muhammad, to elevate his mention and rank, shower him with protection and grace, along with his family and his righteous followers, as he did with Ibrahim, his family and righteous followers in the past. So welcome to our third episode of Prophetic Stories, where we're covering certain aspects and certain events that took place in the life and the ministry of our Messenger Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So the last two times we met, we spent it reflecting over the night in the cave. So the night has not finished yet, and we will continue in an aspect of that night when the messenger returns to his house today. So today's subject is actually called the cream of the crop. The cream of the crop, Safwa. Safwa is like the cream that you get out of milk, which is the best part of the milk. It's the best part of anything is called the Safwa. What's selected, what's chosen, what stands out, and what's better than everything else. In the case of humans, if you say Safwatul Khalq, that would be the individuals that are the cream of the crop amongst humanity. So the best of the creation, and those are the messengers of Allah. It is good for us to reflect over why did they become Safwatul Khalq? Why did God choose them? Right? We said early on that there is two main answers from the Quran. Allahu a'lamu haythu yaj'alu risalata. God knows best where He's going to place His message. And two, وَرَبُّكَ يَخْلُقُ مَا يَشَاءُ وَيَخْتَارُ. Your Lord creates whatever He wishes and He selects. He makes selections and choices. So here when the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam returns from the cave after his first meeting with Ruhul Qudus. Did we speak about Ruhul Qudus last time? Ruhul Qudus is the pure spirit. It's also translated as the Holy Spirit. Did we speak about this last time? What is Ruhul Qudus from our perspective? So Ruhul Qudus for us is another name for Jibreel alayhi salam. نزل به روح القدس على قلبك. It was the Spirit, the Holy Spirit, or the pure Spirit that came down with the Quran on your heart as a form of revelation. Because He was the one that communicated the words of Allah to the Messenger in some instances. Again, we spoke about revelation and how it takes place in multiple ways. One way is direct speech of God to the Messenger. One way is but from behind a veil. So those principles are taken from the ayah, وَمَا كَانَ لِبَشَرٍ أَن يُكَلِّمَهُ اللَّهُ إِلَّا وَحْيًا أَوْ مِنْ وَرَاءِ حِجَابٍ أَوْ يُرْسِلَ رَسُولًا فَيُوحِيَ بِإِذْنِهِ مَا يَشَاءُ. It is not becoming, it is not possible for a human to communicate with God. This is something very important for us in Islam, because some people think that God talks to them all the time. That's definitely not God that's talking to them, especially in this society. It is a belief that people think, God told me this. How? I don't know. But this is something that they constantly speak about. And what is the name of who's communicating with them? They say it is the Holy Spirit, because they believe the Holy Spirit is part of God. It's one of three in the Trinity. What do we believe about the Holy Spirit? So that's why it's good to start a conversation about this. We have some common words, but the meanings are not exactly the same. We have common stories, but the details are not exactly the same. So the prophetic stories that are mentioned in the Quran, for example, many of us don't understand why they're mentioned the way they are. One of the key reasons why the Quran records certain prophetic stories is to correct the misconceptions that are found in the past scriptures that have been tampered with. That's why the Quran doesn't mention the whole story and all the details, but it mentions specific things. So I'll give you a quick example right now, because today we're talking about the messengers, so it's good to have this background. Many people don't understand why would Allah have a verse like this. وَمَا كَفَرَ سُلَيْمَانُ وَلَكِنَّ الشَّيَاطِينَ كَفَرُوا. It was not Solomon who disbelieved, rather it was the devils who disbelieved. Why would God even say that? Because if you open the Bible right now, it says Solomon in the end of his life, he started worshiping idols. Because he was married to pagan women, in order for him to please his wives, he started worshiping their gods. So what does Allah say in the Quran? وَمَا كَفَرَ سُلَيْمَانُ وَلَكِنَّ الشَّيَاطِينَ كَفَرُوا. It was not Solomon who disbelieved, it was the devils who disbelieved. because Allah protects the honor of His messengers, right? And this is constantly the case in the stories of the prophets. Not every single detail is mentioned, but specific details are mentioned in order for us to realize that these are Safwatul Khalq, which is our subject today. How did these people become the epitome of human excellence? You can't get better than the prophets. They are the best of all humans. Now, when you have a perspective that prophets sin, which is what other scriptures have, every single prophet they have has committed terrible sins. It would actually not be appropriate to share some of the things, but open the Bible, the very first few pages, and you'll hear what Noah did, what Lot did, what Abraham did, what Jacob did, what we just mentioned Solomon did, what David did. Every single one of them, you would think these are terrible human beings. What's the concept of prophets in Islam? They are the cream of the crop. They do not commit sins like that. They don't commit crimes like that. Allah has protected them even before they became messengers. And when they make certain mistakes, God corrects them immediately. But they don't die on these mistakes, right? So that's something extremely important. So this is the first meeting that the Messenger Muhammad has with the Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit, from our perspective, is one of the creations of God. It's another name of Gabriel, the angel. It is not divine. It is not divine. It's not appropriate to say this is part of God. We don't believe in that. This first meeting, this first appointment that Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam had, it basically gave him the hint that from this day on, you have become a prophet. So we say this is the beginning of his ministry, which continues for the next 23 years. We described the feeling that he had. It was scary. It was shocking. It was a big surprise. But the point that we want to discuss today is focus on his wife's reaction. This woman who was extremely wise, very mature, very smart and intelligent, Khadija, may Allah be pleased with her. This is the mother of the believers, our mother, Ummul Mu'mineen. Allah speaks about the mothers of the believers who are the wives of the Prophet. He says, وَأَزْوَاجُهُ أُمَّهَاتُهُمْ. So for us as believers, we respect the mothers of the believers. These are not our biological mothers. They simply happen to be married to our messenger. We give them honor and respect. The first one and the main one is Khadija. May Allah be pleased with her. When he tells her the story, he tells her exactly what he experienced. And he tells her his human feelings. Again, we spoke about this before. Vulnerability is important. Many people cannot show their vulnerability. And he says, لَقَدْ خَشِيتُ عَلَى نَفْسِي. I'm scared for myself. The experience was terrifying. She immediately gave him a response that's full of confidence, as we said. It was clear-cut. There was no beating around the bush. There was no, no. She had confidence in what she's about to say. She was able to communicate and articulate something that's going to calm him down, alayhi salatu wassalam. She gave him something which is called a universal law, sunnatun ilahiyya. What's this sunnah ilahiyya? So Allah has given universal laws all around us. Many people call these natural laws. But when you say natural laws, you're attributing these laws to nature. That's actually part of the problem. What do we believe is in charge of nature? Is Allah. So a natural law would become a universal law, would become a divine law. Allah has ordained it in the creation, right? So let's always focus. When we see natural laws, we say this is a law of Allah. And Allah says, وَلَن تَجِدَ لِسُنَّةِ اللَّهِ تَبْدِيلًا. The laws of Allah, you're not going to find any alteration to them. The sun rises in a particular way. That's sunnatullah fi khalqihi, right? Children come a certain way. That's sunnatullah fi khalqi. The human being ages and then there is demise and death. That's sunnatullah fi khalqi. But then there is other non-tangible sunnatullah fi khalqi. The tradition of God in His creation. Like what we're going to talk about today. This is not necessarily a physical thing. And what did she extract this rule from? Because at this time there is no revelation. So why would this woman have this understanding of a universal law that God has placed in the creation? It was due to the following things. Number one, it was due to her intellect. She was extremely intelligent. And all of these things are attributes that we should look forward to in the people that we are close to. It's important in order for you to have success. Two, she had maturity in age. Because with life experience, You start seeing things. You have insight. You start having basira. You start having firasa. Things may not be clear to others, but an older person sees through the smoke. And you're like, how did you see that? Because you wear glasses. And I know that your heart, you don't see very well. But they see with their hearts. That's due to maturity. 3, her looking at historical precedents. That's the importance of history. Look at people's biographies. Look at people's traditions. There are specific things. That's why they tell you right now, if you want to be successful financially, they say, study the life of rich people. And they tell you 7, for example, this is a famous book, 7 habits for highly effective people. Where did they get that 7 from? So this guy studies like 100 famous people throughout human history. What made them special? He extracts these 7 things, right? So Khadija has extracted from her experiences in life, historical precedents. There are specific things that make people special. And next, and this is the most important one, is her intimate knowledge of her husband. She knew her husband in and out. She knew everything about him. And she recognized his nature, what he's made out of. You know, they tell you, I want to know what you're made out of. How can you know what someone is made out of? You're like, they're made out of water and dirt, and they came through their parents. No, that's not what we're talking about. What are you made out of? Meaning, when we have a problem, your true colors are going to show. You've heard that expression? This person's true colors will show, right? What does that mean, true colors? She knew the true colors of the Messenger Muhammad. How does that happen? So I want to take us back now, 15 years from this event. When he was 25 years of age, he was known to be a shepherd in his town, and he also engaged in business. She hired him to take care of her business and to travel with her caravan to make business transactions, because the Quraysh used to travel to the north and to the south. This is recorded in the Quran. رحلة الشتاء والصيف. In the wintertime, they would go down south to Yemen because Yemen is tropical. In the summertime, they would go up to Syria because that region, the Levant, because that area is cool in the summer compared to the desert. And they would have financial transactions with the locals there. So he was sent up there, and she sent with him her servant. And I'm going to speak about this word servant. Please remind me if I forget, because we had that discussion last week, but the brother's not here. But this is for him. She sent her servant, and she says, observe what you see. And her servant took note of every single detail of the trip. Of course, what he witnessed was the honesty of Muhammad, the kind treatment of Muhammad, the beauty of Muhammad, how people reacted to dealing with him, how he was as a traveling partner. And this is where I want to ask us, how do you really know what someone is made out of? How do you know the true colors of people? There was a time where a man came in the masjid and they said, who's going to vouch for him? Who's going to endorse him? Who's going to say pleasant things about him? And one brother said, this is in the early period of Islam, in the time of Umar. A man came and said, I do. I'll vouch for him. I will endorse him. I will give him tazkiyah. I will say nice things about him. So Umar tells him, come over here, Mr. Endorser. What do you know about him? He says, I see him in the masjid. All right. Seeing someone in the masjid is beautiful. The masjid is the best place on earth, without a doubt. But what wrong can you do in the masjid? You can't smoke, you can't drink, you can't fornicate, right? This is a sacred place. The only thing you can do is good. It doesn't matter how bad you are outside, you come here to be good, right? So what you showcase here is not your true colors. This is part of who you are. It's good. But it doesn't mean this is who you are. So Umar asks 3 questions. And this should be taken notes. When you know someone, or when you want to deal with someone, or you want to engage with someone, you should know these 3 things. He says, have you ever traveled with this person? He says, no, I have not. He says, that means you don't know him. Traveled. Travel in Arabic is called what? No. Travel is safar. What does the word safar say? What does the word safar mean? Safar is to be exposed. So you see how I'm wearing a hat right now? If I do this, this is called asfartu an ra'si. A woman who removes her scarf in Arabic, what is she called? Safir. Safir, right? The action is called sufur, right? They say safar is called safar because when you're sitting in a place, you're a resident. When you travel, you're exposing the place that you were in and it's no longer covered. That's one meaning. The second meaning is when you go out, you expose yourself to the elements. Okay? But they have something else related to safar. They say, as-safaru yusfiru an akhlaq al-rijal. Travel exposes the character traits, the true colors of people. When you go out and travel with someone, you're going to know exactly who they are. Here, when things are easy, we're comfortable, we're having fun, we're sitting, we're talking. Travel. Try going to the airport with someone. Everyone knows this, right? When you travel, what happens? Things are hectic. There is security checks, right? There is time. He's like, no, we got to be there 10 hours before the flight so we don't miss our flight, right? Or the person is negligent and he misses the flight. He gets you there late, right? Let's say you sit in the plane. Okay, is this person going to handle being in close proximity with others, or are they very harsh with people? It's like, I need space for my legs. I need the AC to be on, and it may be cold, right? And you're sneezing, and he doesn't care. He puts the AC on. You're like, I'm dying here. Can you like turn it down? What do you see in your travels? The true colors of people, right? So you have to travel with people in order for you to get to know them. Now, most people get to know people after damage has been done. So you're supposed to do this stuff before you get involved with someone financially, before you get involved with someone in marriage, especially in marriage, right? Before you get involved with someone in any type of project, make sure you know their true colors. Okay, the second thing he asked him, he says, have you ever dealt with him with money? Have you ever dealt with him in money? And the man's like, no, I've never dealt with him in money. If you meet someone in the masjid, can you deal with him in money? No, because it's prohibited to deal with money in the masjid. Tijara is not allowed. It's restricted within the masjid. This is a sanctuary. So we don't do business in here, right? So you can't even find out what a person's true colors are. But what do you hear? The complaint is, man, I'm never going to do business with Muslims. Why not? Because they cheat you. Where did you meet this brother? In the masjid. Those people who go to the masjid, they're all cheaters. They're all liars. They're all deceivers, right? We've heard this, right? We've all heard that. What's the problem here? You're not supposed to deal with him in a big project until you test him with something small. Entrust him with some money. See how he deals with it. Go out with him and see how he deals with people in the market. Is the person easygoing, or is the person very stingy? Is the person generous, or is the person miserly? What are his true colors? You're going to find that out with what? Financial dealings. Why is that important? Let's say you marry someone, and this person may be rich. And you're like, yeah, everybody gets excited. A rich family approached us, okay, for our daughter. So we married her off because we wanted her to have financial security. Okay, how is it going? Man, the husband doesn't spend no money in the house. No? I thought he was rich. He's rich, but what is he? Stingy, right? You got to be rich and generous. A rich, stingy person is not a good person to be with. And then the third thing he asked him, he says, are you his neighbor? Do you live close to him? He says, no, I'm not his neighbor. Why is it important if you're somebody's neighbor? Because if you're somebody's neighbor, you see how they go in and how they go out. Who comes into their house and who goes out. What they bring into their house and what they take out. Right? That's important. So if people basically are doing some illegal activity next door to you, do you ever want to deal with those people? No, you're like, those people sound or look shady. Something smells fishy over there. Right? So you wouldn't deal with them. And that's why in Arabic they have a statement. They say before you purchase your house, you should do what? Find out who the neighbors are. You say, Al-jaru qabla ad-dar. Your neighbor should come before your house. Of course, that's very difficult
in the real estate market, right? You find a good deal, you go for it. And then you find out, wow, I got some terrible neighbors here. And what do people usually look for in neighbors? Oh, is this a rich neighborhood? Because that's very important. Don't live with poor people, right? Don't live with Section 8 people. Section 8, people on government assistance. So I'm going to tell you something in my case, in our family. So we got like 10 neighbors around us. We live in a cul-de-sac. I think everyone around us, some people rent their house and some people pay for their house. The area we live in is not a rich area. It's poor, generally speaking. But again, if you own a house, that means you have something. The only neighbors in the cul-de-sac that ever came to us and gave us a gift were people on Section 8 housing. They were the poorest in the neighborhood. Not only that, they're disabled. They are on wheelchairs. So they have no income. They have complete disability. The man, the woman, the children. Right? Not only that, they come to us regularly. They have fruit trees in their house and they bring fruits. And they're like, we give this to the whole neighborhood and this is your turn now. It's not just us they're coming to. They go to everyone and give this for free. Right? I would rather live with those people, although the reputation of people on Section 8 is what? Don't live close to them. Those people are criminals. Those people are homeless. They're lazy. They don't want to work. It's not that they're lazy. They can't work. If you have disability, can you work? Not really, right? So look, you get to witness things in your neighborhood. And then we have other people. We had a car burning outside of our house, like next door to our house. It burnt the whole night. I don't know what happened to it. People went out and turned it off. They put off the fire. They were nice, but like it wasn't any, I wonder if our car was burning, what would happen, right? But then again, next door to us, we have another neighbor. Whenever the fence falls, we have wind in this area, the Santa Ana winds. The fence falls every single year at this time when the winds pick up. He goes out and he fixes the fence on his own. And he says, I'm afraid because you have girls and I have a swimming pool in my house and I don't want them to come and have an accident. And I don't want you to keep them inside the house. I want them to go out and play in their backyard. So as soon as the fence falls, he comes from work and he gets to work. That's what a neighbor, right? So this person, these people are not Muslim, by the way. But I can trust this person. This person I know is looking out for me. And sometimes you know that your neighbor is not very kind. So you don't really know people until you're close to them. How did Khadija find out about the Prophet ﷺ after that business trade? He was already known as a truthful person, as an honest person. But now what did she do? Of course she wanted to make money. This was a business transaction. But what else was she doing? Trying to find out what his true colors are. So she sent her servant and she says, take notes. What do you see? He comes back from the journey and he says, this is what I saw. She says, this is the one. Right? And that's how he gets married to Khadija. She actually sends one of her friends to his family to find out, is he looking, and then to him, and they propose to him. That's the story of our Prophet's marriage. The woman is proposing to the man. Is this taboo in our community or what? Very taboo, right? But that's the sunnah. The sunnah of the prophets in general is to find men for their daughters. That's not how people operate today. You go out and you inquire, because the man is able to go travel with the other guy. He's like, are you saying like the boy and the girl should travel before they get married? You think she's going to see his true colors if they travel together? No way. Ask anyone who goes on a honeymoon. Honeymoon is the biggest lie people have. So many marriages, they say, honeymoon was perfect. We traveled together. You know why it was perfect? Because you were lying to each other. You come back home, they say, as soon as the honeymoon was over, problems started. Oh my God, what an amazing situation. Is that a surprise? You really didn't know the person. Who's going to find out who the man is? The men in the family need to find out who he is. Right? So the prophets, we have the story of Shu'aib. He goes and proposes to, well, Shu'aib, there is difference. The Shu'aib in the story of Musa, is he a prophet or not? Difference of opinion. He was a good man. He was a righteous man. He proposes to Musa. أريد أن أنكحك إحدى ابنتي هاتين. I want to marry you to one of my two daughters. That's the sunnah. That's the way of the prophets. But we're so far removed from that. Again, that's the idea of prophetic stories. So she lived with him for 15 years. I'm going to mention something brief here. He was 25 years of age. Commonly, she is said to be how old? 40, right? That's the most common statement that people have. That's actually not the most authentic. The most authentic reports say she was 27 years of age. You're like, oh my God, what are you doing? You just burst my bubble. We've been saying to people, look, you can marry older women. Yes, you can marry older women. That's not a problem. But the point here is, if you're going to be academically rigorous, you're going to find out, hey, there's other reports that say otherwise. It doesn't change anything in the story. She was already married. She was previously married. That's known. So she was a widow. But she wasn't 40 necessarily. So she had spent 15 years with him, knowing him intimately, his true colors. She lived with him. And the whole reason why she married him was because she knew him through her servant that accompanied him on that journey. So basically, here, her answer was straightforward. Again, this is important. And I'm learning this, again, we all learn. So I'm pretty young. I've been married, you know, a little less than 15 years. But now, my wife knows more about me than she did originally. And we're having this conversation now, right? So the point here, now she can tell you more about me than she can early on. Although you would think, well, I was very transparent. I told her this and told her that. But through years of experience, now the person knows you. So sometimes she'll ask a question and I'll say, I don't know. But to her, she understands what I don't know means. Although if I tell you I don't know, you're like, the guy doesn't know. He's got no clue. But people who know you, they're like, when he says he doesn't know, that means he wants this, right? He doesn't know means something. It's a scripted or cryptid language, right? You gotta decode it. So with time, you get to know people. So Khadija knew him. She had no complaints about this man. So straightforward, she gave this quick answer, which had complete certainty, no doubt about it. This is something very important. And she says, Kalla wallahi la yukhzika Allahu abada. She swears by Allah. She says, Kalla, no way. Allah will never forsake you. Then I'm going to focus on the things that she mentions. This is what we're going to talk about today. She says, Innaka latasilu rahim. We mentioned this briefly last time, but we're going to actually expose every single one of these statements. Innaka latasilu rahim. The first thing she points out, that you are always connected to your family. Because if your family doesn't get good treatment from you, how can strangers get good treatment from you? And that's how a lot of people fail. A lot of people are great with outsiders, but they won't give anything to their family. That's why the Prophet encourages us. He says, what type of charity is the best charity? He says, charity to people who are related to you. Because you get double the reward. The reward of charity and the reward of silatul rahim. Right? So if you're wise, make sure that whoever is in need in your relations is being taken care of. But what people tell you now, they say, no, don't give family, because they'll think you have money and then they'll be jealous and envious of you, right? All this, I don't, what kind of wisdom is this called? They call it what? Kitchen wisdom? There's a word for it. Right? Things that, popular things that people say. إِنَّكَ لَتَصِلُ الرَّحِمِ. Number one, you take care of your family. This doesn't just mean you see them once a year. You're constantly engaged in taking care of them. Two, تَحْمِلُ الْكَلَّ. Tahmil literally means you carry. Al-kal means that which is heavy. But al-kal can also mean other things. It can mean an orphan. But in this context, it means the one who's burdened with debts, with needs, with difficulties. You help that person out. So you see someone, you know, carrying something heavy, you go and you help them out. It doesn't have to be physically heavy. A lot of times people are carrying heavy burdens mentally, emotionally. They need a shoulder. They need someone to hold them by the hand. Are you that person? Again, all of these things we're going to learn mean empathy. Two, وَتُكْسِبُ الْمَعْدُومِ. So I'll read the definitions of these things because they're actually nice in Arabic, and then we'll translate very quickly. So she says, إِنَّكَ لَتَصِلُ الرَّحِمِ وَتَحْمِلُ الْكَلِّ. He says, تحمل الكل أي تتحمل أثقال الفقراء والضعفاء والأيتام بالإنفاق عليهم وإعانتهم بالمال. How do you carry the burdens? He says, you carry the burdens of the poor, the weak, and the orphans. These are the weakest, underprivileged people in society. How do you do so? How do you help them out? By spending on them, assisting them with wealth. That's what tahmilul kal means. Many of us think, well, yeah, I helped them out. He was carrying a suitcase and I helped him with that. No, you help him financially. You put your money where your mouth is. Next, she says, وَتُكْسِبُ الْمَعْدُومِ تَتَبَرَّعُ بِالْمَالِ لِمَنْ لَا يَجِدُهُ. You donate money to those that don't have money. This doesn't mean people have to beg you in fundraisers. You go out of your way to find who's in need and you donate your money to them. Two of these things have to do with finances. Finances are very dear and near to people. You're like, look, everything but not the money, man. Don't talk about the money. I'll give you whatever you want, but don't touch that money. Don't touch that bank account. This has nothing to do with people begging you. You go out to people. Then she says, وَتُقْرِ الضَّيْفِ. تُقْرِ الضَّيْفِ means you are extremely hospitable and generous with your guests. Generous and hospitable with your guests. أَنَّكَ تُكْرِمُ ضُيُوفَكَ. This is a prophetic tradition. He says, مَنْ كَانَ يُؤْمِنُ بِاللَّهِ وَالْيَوْمِ الْآخِرِ فَلْيُكْرِمْ ضَيْفَهُ. Whoever believes in God in the last day, let him be generous to his guest. This is a prophetic thing. Ibrahim alayhi salam, those strangers that come to him, they say, how you doing? He says, I'm doing fine. Come on in. He goes, cooks a meal, brings it back to them. No questions asked. How do we treat our guests? Our guests come to us and we're like, do you want to eat or do you want to go out to eat? We don't offer anything, right? Not offering something is not a pleasant attribute. Of course, you may say, well, you know, cultures differ. Yes, cultures differ, but our culture should be prophetic. Prophets used to give something to their guests. And the last thing she says, وَتُعِينُ عَلَى نَوَائِبِ الْحَقِّ أي تعين الناس فيما يصيبهم من خير أو شر. You help people regardless of their circumstance and their condition, whether it's difficult or easy. Because you know what? Sometimes people need help even when things are easy. Do people need help with weddings? Are weddings evil? No, they're happy, joyous occasions. But they need your help, right? But it's like, this is when people run away. They're like, you know what? My friend has a wedding. I don't want to answer their phone calls anymore because I don't want to come to their assistance. So she said these things. These are consistent attributes of the Prophet ﷺ. So here our mother Khadija, Allah be pleased with her, she says this is the universal law. What is the universal law? She says God Almighty will protect His servants if they have in their bank accounts with God special care for God's dependents. There is a narration, it's not authentic, but the meaning is correct. It says, الخلق عيال الله وخير الناس أنفعهم لعياله. All of people are dependent on God, and the best of people are the best to the dependents of God. If Allah could use you to take care of people, it's His wealth that He's given you. If you happen to be there and becoming a benefactor and allowing people to become beneficiaries, then that's something positive. That's what a believer should do. All right? So, خَيْرُ النَّاسِ أَنْفَعُهُمْ لِلنَّاسِ. The Prophet says the best of all people are the most useful to others, the most beneficial to others. Not the ones who can talk the most, not the ones who got the most charisma, or the ones who make the most money. He says, أَنْفَعُهُمْ لِلنَّاسِ. That's why simply being rich, like we said, is not beneficial. You got to be generous with your riches. So her understanding is that if someone is taking care of God's creation, then how can God ever leave them be? How can God forsake them? That's a universal law. This is an untangible universal law. You know, people know about gravity. They know about different laws in nature. This is a universal law. If you take care of people, Allah will take care of you. No doubt about it. And this is tried and experienced without a doubt. If you take care of people, Allah will take care of you. Now, the idea here is that Allah made the Prophet have these attributes, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and whoever has these attributes in them, they're the ones that get the aid of God and the generosity of God. She also tells us something else. It's good to realize this, and this is what's important for us, that this particular Muhammadan trait of taking care of people is something that he had from his very beginnings. It's not something that was developed later on. You know, many of us, we go through phases in life. So you may be messy as a child, non-organized, non-disciplined, but maybe you go to university, you stay away from your mom, no one is cooking for you, no one is cleaning for you, no one is fixing your bed, no one is washing your clothes. You start developing discipline. You make your bed, sometimes. You make your bed, you start cooking and this and that. You come back and you're like, wow, you're a changed person, but that wasn't part of your history. In the Prophet's history, being in the service of people was part of his history. It was part of the story all along. It's not something that was developed, because some people say, you know what, well, he wasn't like this, and when he became a prophet, he became nice. No, he was nice before being a prophet. And Allah chooses nice people. That's part of the story. Before revelation came to him from his Lord, so then Khadija's understanding is the pious and the righteous and those who do good to others, God will never forsake them. They will not be disappointed. Then he tells us, the author, if you look at these beautiful traits, which Khadija mentioned, may Allah be pleased with her, you see that the common denominator in these traits, is what? What's the common denominator? Number one, silatul rahim, taking care of your family, financially. Two, what did we say? Quickly, can you remind me? We mentioned 5 things. Tasilul rahim, wa tahmilul kal, you carry the burdens of those in need, financial burdens. Wa tuksibul ma'dum, you donate money to those that don't have money. Wa tu'inu ala nawa'ib al-haq, you help people in good situations and in bad situations. You're constantly there by people's side. What is the common denominator? There has to be a common denominator between these things. They're not disconnected, they're all related. What is it? Kindness, more than kindness. The scholars say naf'un nas. Naf'un nas, bringing benefit to others. Every single one of these things doesn't have to do with you. You are not part of the equation. It's all about others. You're giving, you're donating, you're assisting. Tuqri dayf, right? You take care of your guest. Because if you look at these things, they all are actually what? They cause you discomfort. Is it easy to host people? It's not easy. You got to do something, right? Whether you order food in or you cook food, someone has to put in effort. So all these things, it has to do with naf'un nas. So the scholars say something important. They say, acts of worship, there's 2 categories of them. Some of them, they have naf' qasir. It means the benefit of the worship comes to you and to you alone. What's an example of that? If I read Quran by myself in the corner of my house, no one else benefits from that. The same story, reading Quran now, if I teach others Quran, they say this is naf'un muta'addin. The benefit goes outside of you and you're being able to spread the love, right? Share goodness. So you're helping others out. So that's why it's better and best to do acts which have to do with general benefits, benefiting other people. Okay. So she said the common denominator, he takes care of people's needs. He fills in any gaps that they may have in their lives. The family members are connected. The disabled person is helped. The one who doesn't have anything is given. And the guest is hosted. And then needs are fulfilled. Common denominator, helping others. The second main lesson here, he says, oh, by the way, what's interesting with these things, we're going to skip in the story. So from this time, I want to say 10 years later, a man by Abu Bakr. Abu Bakr is the close friend of the Prophet ﷺ, the first male believer in Islam. So the first Muslims were Khadija from the women, Abu Bakr from the men, Ali from the children, Zayd from the slave class. Every single class in society converted early on, right? Abu Bakr gets under so much persecution and he wants to leave Medina. He wants to leave Mecca and he wants to travel. One of the disbelievers see him and they say, what you doing? What are you doing leaving? He says, these people are not allowing me to worship my Lord. And the man told him, people like you should not leave this city. And then he told him the same attributes that we just read. He says, you take care of family, you help those with burdens, you give money to those who need it, you treat the guests nicely, and you're generous and hospitable, and you assist people whenever there is a need. The same attributes. The key here is we have to have these attributes. That's how we learn from these stories. This is not just for prophets. If you're claiming to follow the Prophet, we must have these things. Right? That's something very, very important. These character traits are produced by pure souls and empathetic, merciful hearts. These hearts actually carry the burdens and the concerns of people. They're thinking about other people's concerns. They're looking for people's needs. As in, is there a need you have that I can fulfill? You know, so many times, good people, they don't ask you just how you're doing. They say, what can I do for you? If you ask somebody how they're doing, what are they going to say? I'm doing okay. They could be going through a very difficult situation, right? But ask them what's going on in their lives. Yesterday, I asked the brother, I said, how you doing? He says, I'm broke. He's honest with me. He's known me for a long time. He knew me before I became this way. He's one of the few people who know my history. So he says, I'm broke. So I didn't realize what I said, but he told me that I told him, I know. He says, I'm broke, and I said, I know. That was so terrible, right? Like, you don't tell somebody, yeah, sure, I know. Yeah, next, like, move on. So anyway, we got to talking. I'm like, man, what's going on? And he's like, look, I don't tell people my situation because I don't want people to think I'm needy. The brother, again, is disabled. This is another story of disability. He says, but I did something that wasn't wise. I said, what'd you do? He says, I took a loan from these, what are they called? Quick loan places? Quick cash? What is it called? Who knows those places? You go there and you pull out a loan. It's not like a bank. It's easier than a bank. Usually poor people do that. And that gets them in big trouble financially because there is big interest rates on these things, right? Because in a bank you have to pass you have to have a certain limit and they check out your record. These people, they're like, yeah, we'll give you money, but the interest rate is like 500%, right? When you're in need of money, what do? This is the same story with pawn shops. You go and sell your property so you can get cash. So you get to know that some people have needs actually. Now, what was the brother there for? He was there to listen to my lecture. My lecture had nothing to do with his situation. But now if we don't find out what people are going through, somebody could be in the crowd. They've lost a loved one, right? They're struggling financially. They're struggling in their relationships. And you have no idea. And so many of our interactions are like this. They're very shallow. How you doing, brother? I'm doing well. Okay, alhamdulillah. I asked him how he's doing. End of the story. You don't really know people. You got to inquire what's going on. So those pure souls are ones who are taking care of people, inquiring about their needs. And this is important, by the way, about inquiring. Because some people are spies. They know everybody's weaknesses, but they're not willing to do anything about it. So you talk to them, you're like, yeah, man, that person has a debt. You're like, okay, are we helping him? No, I just wanted to let you know. He's got a debt. That person, he just divorced his wife. That sister, you know, she was just seen in an inappropriate place and there's a scandal about her in the community. What is the point behind all of that? Are you doing something to help them? Not really. So when we say inquiring about people's needs, that's not just to search for soap opera drama. That's for you doing something about it. So hopefully we can learn that. All of these are natural traits of the Messenger Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Before he was given the news of the scripture that he is about to receive, Khadija was fully aware of these things, completely confident that he has them due to her deep experiences with him. That's something very important, where the one who vouches for you is your wife. Now, the reason why wives and husbands vouch for each other usually is because they say, what are people going to say about us? So they ask her, is your husband generous? Yeah, of course he's generous. So she's like, eh. Her mom knows, right? Go ask her mom. Ask the mother-in-law. You're like, no, he's not. He's stingy, right? So the people that are closest to you are the ones that know you the best. And Khadija here knew him the best. May Allah be pleased with her. This is how a marital relationship is supposed to be, where when difficulties come about, you're helping each other out. Now, here the author skips and he goes back in history. And that's why we said it's called prophetic stories. He says there is another image that I want you to reflect over that exposes to us the same reality. It's the story of Moses, Musa alayhi salam, when he goes to Midian. He goes to Midian when he was running away for his life, right? He commits murder by accident, manslaughter, it's not murder. He runs away from Egypt, goes to Midian, northern Arabia. Then he goes to rest. Now this is after a long journey, he's running for his life, he's scared, he's terrified. And then he sees the town, they're all out getting water for their animals. And then he sees on the side two ladies with their animals. So typically these people were shepherds. So they tend to animals. And these two ladies were preventing their animals from coming to the water. وَوَجَدَ مِن دُونِهِمُ امْرَأَتَيْنِ تَذُودَانِ. They're holding their animals back. Now, you can't really hold an animal back. It's like taking a child to a candy store and telling them, don't touch the candy. Have you ever taken children to any place where they're selling stuff? And you tell them, yeah, we can't touch things. They make sure to touch every single item. Sometimes they drop everything on the shelves, right? You tell them, no, we're not going to buy that. They're still going to touch it. Sheep are the same way. Sheep are the same way. And that's why they call children kids. You know what kids means? What does kid mean? Baby goat. A kid is a baby goat. Because you can't control them. If they see something that's appealing, they're going to go to it. So these two women are working hard, keeping their animals back. And then Moses is looking at this and he's like, this is strange. Something is not adding up. Everyone is getting to drink the water and their animals are drinking, they're watering their animals. And these two ladies are preventing their animals from water. So then he goes to them asking them. He's a stranger, mind you. He says, "Ma khatbukuma, what's the matter with you two?" They said, "La nasqi hatta yusdir al-ri'a." We're not going to water our animals until the other shepherds leave. Wa abuna shaykhun kabir, and our father is an old man. This is one of the few places where the word shaykh is mentioned in the Quran. It's always about an old man. Shaykh means old man. So wa abuna shaykhun kabir, our father is an old man. Why would Moses feel weirded out when he saw that? How many times do we see things and we don't even get affected by them? Why did Moses get affected here? It's his good nature, what he's made out of. It's his true colors. He says, this is not proper. This is inappropriate. So look at what he says. He says, this is his good manners and his ethics. He realized that a weak person requires help and aid. And he doesn't require to be pushed aside. Usually, underprivileged people are always pushed aside. فَسَقَى لَهُمَا. That was his action. As soon as they told him this, he didn't get any more inquiries. He went, pushed his way in, brought their animals, and made the animals drink. He did this on his own. This is called taking the initiative. Being an initiative taker. Al-mubadaratu lil-khayr. Don't wait. It's like, I don't know. Now, of course, mubadara lil-khayr, taking initiative, it's got to be in proper etiquette. In this particular situation, everybody was watering their animals. But don't tell me I'm taking the initiatives in someone's house. So you go to someone's house and they're not offering you food. You're like, I'm taking the initiative. You go to the kitchen, start cooking. I was like, well, they didn't honor the guest. I'm going to honor the guest. You don't do that because there's proper etiquette. I'm a guest here. I don't come and try changing furniture. Oh, I don't like the way these chairs are. I want to put these chairs upstairs and I don't like these lights. I'm going to change the colors. That's not my job. I'm a guest. A guest should respect the host, right? The idea here is, again, quick initiative. This is part of chivalry. Call it muru'a in Arabic. This is what manhood is. This is what true womanhood is. This is being noble. This is being honorable. This is being ethical. That's why the Quran says about it, فَسَقَ لَهُمَا. Immediately after, he waters their animals. The idea here was, it was a quick response. It wasn't delayed. A lot of our responses are delayed responses. People tell you, this person's in need, and you're like, you wait until the end of the week and then you respond. No, they are in need right now. If you wait, maybe they'll die. Someone tells you, I'm suffering. You're like, yeah, okay, I'll put it on my events calendar. You get back to them on Sunday, the family's like, yeah, we buried them yesterday. Right? So quick response. That's why they call them what? First responders. Stuff hits, they're there. They're not waiting. Well, actually, I want to find out if it's safe to go. If you're finding it's not safe, a first responder goes when it's not safe. So here is the situation of Moses. He's a strange man, an alien. You can say illegal alien too. He actually is what? A runaway, renegade. 2, in a land that he's not familiar with, and people that have he doesn't have any of their support, and he's extremely tired after the journey. This happened right after he arrived, by the way. It's not like he spent time in a hotel, he was in a resort, he became familiar with the city, and now he's doing voluntary work. This is as soon as he arrives, he goes and he sees this situation. He's like, okay, I'm gonna do something about it. I can't just let this be. He's running away for his life from his enemy that wants to kill him. He just came back from a journey. He didn't have any provisions with him, no money. He's not prepared for anything. He has nothing. It's like these refugees, or right now with the fires. You know how people are losing everything in California, right? They run away from their homes. You can't take anything with you. And at that state, you're not like, you know, I'm kind of busy finding about what I do with my life. No, some people, although they're going through difficulty, they're like, no, I'm going to help my neighbor because I see him as more needy than I am. Those are noble people. So he felt strange to what he saw because his nature was pure. And then he immediately carried out the action and the response. Although the people of the town and the neighbors of these 2 ladies that know that their father is a senior citizen, and they know that they're women, and they see their need, they had completely let them be. That happens a lot, right? Sometimes the community may see somebody in pain, but we become desensitized and we just ignore them. And then a stranger comes one time. This is what happens actually. It's very strange. A guest khatib comes and every problem in the community comes to him. Right? Because they're hoping for like a response because they haven't gotten a response. Of course, it's a problem because this guest got no clue about the background of the story. But at the same time, that shows you that there is pain that's going unnoticed and unattended. So here we learn that the true occupation and the true objective of the messengers was that what made them so special, what made them safwatul khalq, the cream of the crop in the creation, is they had these beautiful spirits, these beautiful natures. Their colors were pure. And the most important of all the character traits is being merciful unto people. That's what every single messenger had. That's what they had in common. Ibrahim alayhi salam, with all of his struggles, when the punishment of Allah came to the town of Lot, he started arguing with the angels. Yujadiluna fi qawmi Lut. These are the worst, despicable people at that time. God himself is angry with them. And what is Ibrahim doing? Yujadiluna fi qawmi Lut. This is a very mighty man. This is a man who broke the idols as a child. He challenged the status quo individually. They threw him in the fire to burn him. But he was so merciful. Inna Ibrahim la halimun awahun. That's his character traits. He's forbearing, he's patient, he's loving, he's kind, he's merciful, he's empathetic. That's what the prophets were. Prophets were not bloodthirsty. Prophets cried over people because they know people are going to burn in the hellfire, right? And they wanted to save them. They want their salvation. So the prophets are ones who sponsor people's needs, people's situations, people's social issues. They get involved. And this is not talking about simply being a social justice warrior. That's not what the prophets were. And it's not about being on social media and just going on protests. It's talking the talk and walking the walk. It's being there physically helping people. You know, you hear, it's very interesting. You hear about these people that are supposedly activists, but they never actually are there. They're in the front lines whenever there is media coverage. The cameras are there. But when there's no cameras, you don't see them. The prophets were there where there was no cameras. So they actually were sincere. They were truthful in helping people and getting rid of the problems that they had. And that's why, who did the prophets attract? Every single prophet attracted who? The weak and underprivileged in society. Quraysh told the prophet, you got slaves, you got the poor, you got people who have no tribes. We don't want to talk to you until you put these people away. Nuh alayhi salam. Right? What did they say? The least of the people, the lowest, the most wicked of society, the wretched people, اتبعك أراذلنا. Those are the people that followed you. That's who the prophets attract. Again, many people are surprised. Man, why are the only people converting to Islam the poor? Because that's who the prophets attract. But what do we want? How come we can't get like a rich person, a millionaire to become Muslim? Just imagine if a rich person becomes Muslim, what would be the image of Islam? Right? And that's why we don't celebrate a poor homeless person converting to Islam of a particular ethnic background, but we will celebrate someone who's rich from a white collar background and a particular ethnic background. That's the dichotomy that we have. But the prophets were happy regardless of who they received. And most of their followers were the weak. So they were actually like magnets. Magnets to those who are weak and those who are in need. Because they realized whoever comes to them will get assistance. They will get mercy. They will get empathy. And that's why the main objective of sending them was what? To save people from the worst calamity. Not a financial difficulty, from the hellfire. To save people from misguidance. To guide people to the truth. And they love this task because they're like, I'm actually helping people. I feel good about what I'm doing. I'm enjoying this. Because this is part of their nature. People who are generous, when they give, they feel good about giving. People who are stingy, when they give, they feel bad about it. Like, man, I can't believe I just donated $10. He's like, I got tricked. I got played. But a generous person is like, man, I wish I donated more. Look at the smile on that person's heart, on that person's face, right? So that's the pure hearts and the pure natures of the prophets. Allah bless them and grant them protection. Now, this was a consistent thing in all the lives of the Prophet of God and his messengers. And those of us who claim to follow them, because again, when we say Atba'ul Anbiya, we are the followers of the prophets, we should have this in the back of our minds. How true are we to those realities of the prophets? Of course, that is first and foremost the people who are called, and this is like, it goes to people like me who studied the tradition, it goes to the scholars of Islam. And this is something very interesting. The scholars of Islam are only known to talk. They just preach. But you never see them doing anything else. Some of them do things, to be honest. But again, most people don't actually realize that they do other things in life. So they think, yeah, this is a teacher. He just educates people. That's one of the things that the person should have. Because if you're truly following the Prophet, you should do all the things the Prophet did. So the people who are engaged in knowledge to Islam, calling to Islam, inviting others to Islam, they should have a social dimension to themselves. They should be socially relevant. Socially relevant doesn't mean you're following the latest fads. Socially relevant means you're taking care of people's social needs. People come to you when they're in need. You actually sponsor and endorse their cases. You go after you go to solve their difficulties. And this is part of the mercy that Allah has. So Allah tells us about the Prophet, فَبِمَا رَحْمَةٍ مِّنَ اللَّهِ لِنْتَ لَهُمْ. This is part of the mercy and grace of Allah. If you have a share of the grace of Allah, you should have mercy on people. He says to Muhammad, it was due to the mercy of God that you were able to be gentle and kind with them. And that's why he says, if a scholar or someone who's calling to Islam or a preacher doesn't have this type of situation in the community, then their effect is extremely limited. And that's a fact. If all people see you as talking, then your effect is going to be limited. One of the most effective teachers we had in Medina was the most philanthropist person in the city. And this is interesting. The model there, I think we should try to copy it, because in our community here, the community survive on fundraising. It's a fundraising model. The community constantly fundraises for different occasions, different needs. They have different campaigns. In that model, the rich people, they come to this scholar and they say, we trust you, here, take this money, and we want this money for you to build an apartment complex for the students who are dedicated to studying Islam. And he builds a building and he houses the students, subsidized housing. Others tell him, take this money, and whoever has not performed pilgrimage, if it's their first Hajj, we want you to sponsor their Hajj. And they give him money. I witnessed this. I saw this firsthand. He's not begging people. People are coming to him saying, here. Right? His own house. So typically there in that country, if you have some money, you build your own villa, you put a fence around it, and you want complete privacy. His land, he built an apartment building, and he lives in one apartment. A small apartment. And then he has his colleagues, the main workers that are working with him, the teachers, living in his building. And then when his children grew up, they lived in the building as well. Right? And then he had his personal library. And he says, you know what, I have a lot of books. So he made the personal library a public library, which is open every single day, 12 hours throughout the year. And then he makes himself available for whoever needs anything every day from Asr to Isha. His doors are open. People come to him from all corners asking for help. This is not just someone who's preaching and teaching. Right? So this is the type of model that we should have. This is how the Prophet was. The Prophet didn't just give lectures. People came to him in Medina. This woman came to him and she's like, I got a problem. I got to talk to you about it. Women came to him complaining to his wives. They're like, look, we got some abusive husbands. And he addressed these things. Right? So he was there taking care of people's social needs, emotional needs, spiritual needs, and so forth. So we ask Allah to bless us to have these character traits. The actual word that I wanted to discuss was the word servant. So one of our brothers, last time, may Allah reward him, he pointed out to me that he noticed that whenever I say Muhammad, abduhu wa rasuluh, I say Muhammad, the servant of God and his messenger, he said he believes that a more accurate word for abd is slave. He says, why do you use the word servant and not slave? I said, first of all, because slavery is something that has a negative connotation here in the English language. And slavery in Arabic is called raqiq. Riq is when someone is owned by another person. Abdullah here is a noble state. So I looked it up in English because I teach Arabic in IOK seminary, but we do quite a bit of looking up words in Arabic and in English. So I looked up the word in English today, and then I brought the definition with me today, the word servant specifically. Now, of course, his English is not his first language, so he's aware of some of the meanings of servant. So this is what the word servant means. A person who performs duties for others, this is what comes to our mind. One who performs duties for others, especially a person employed in a house on domestic duties or as a personal attendant. So the brother told me in Arabic, servant means khadim. I said, true, that's one of the meanings. So always remember that words have multiple meanings. So one meaning is khadim. Next meaning, a person employed in the service of a government. What are officials called in America? Public servants. You don't say, so in Arabic, what are government officials called? Mas'ulin, right? Responsible people. It's the same exact word. You don't call them khuddam al-mujtama', because definitely in the Middle East, that's not what they're doing. But that's beside the point. We won't get into politics. The next meaning, a devoted and helpful follower or supporter. A devoted and helpful follower and supporter. That would be an actual accurate definition for Sahaba. The Sahaba are the servants of the Messenger of Allah. They actually play a role in serving him as a khadim, because Anas was his khadim. Abdullah ibn Mas'ud was his khadim. Abdullah ibn Umar was his khadim, right? So they were actual domestic workers, but they also were his devoted followers and supporters. And then the last meaning, a tireless servant of God, which has to do with being devoted to the service of God. So in religious terms, when we say servant here, we mean abd. Okay? So abd in Arabic, what does it mean in Arabic? Good. Good. A slave against their own will, meaning someone has ownership of you. You don't have freedom. Good. What other meanings? Voluntary service. The first one is involuntary. So in Arabic, what many people don't realize is the word abada means khada'a wa ata'a. To submit willingly and to obey. Hence the word ibadah means what? The proper definition of ibadah is not worship. It is service. It is service. It is obedience. So that's why Allah says, La ta'budu shaytan. Don't worship the devil. That's the most common translation. But what is Allah telling us? La tattabi'u khutuwati shaytan. Don't obey the devil. Because you're like, I'm not a Satan worshiper, right? I'm not Wiccan. I'm not pagan. Okay, so how are you doing worship of the devil? How are you doing ibadah? By obeying him. So ibadah means ta'ah. Anyway, I wanted to point that out. I appreciated the brother for what he said. May Allah reward him. But again, it's important for us to always go back and realize words have multiple meanings and language is something that's extremely rich. So hopefully we can learn some of that as we discuss these things with each other. So today, the topic was the cream of the crop. And we realize why those people that God chose and selected were special. They were in the service of others. And what we can learn from that is that we should be in the service of others. We should be concerned with people's well-being, with people's welfare, with people's needs, with people's situations domestically, physically, health-wise. This is not only when you work as a care provider. Muslims should be care providers for everyone they come across, in whatever way they can be. We ask Allah to make us of His safwa, of the cream of the crop. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. We ask Allah to bless the Messenger Muhammad, to honor and compliment him, to shower him with protection and grace along with his family and his righteous followers, as he did with Ibrahim, his family and righteous followers in the past. اللهم أعنا على ذكرك وشكرك وحسن عبادتك. We ask you, Allah, to help us to remember you at all times, to be grateful to you for all your blessings, and to worship you in the best of ways. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. Allah is far above any imperfection. We praise Him. We testify that He is the only one worthy of worship. We seek His forgiveness and we repent to Him. Sorry, we delayed Salah a little bit. Please forgive us.
Sunnah.